Maria, while I'm researching this knowledge of how they came about calling this island Lumerian, and where did it all start, like who came up with this first known name, and it's Phyllis, it's Mu, the land of Mu, and she called Augustus a catalyst for a galactic download in order for the Lemurian culture and civilization to be resurfaced to the human civilization that we have now. And this is the reason why, is because it's an important time on Earth, when Earth needed the energy the most, and we're going to dive deep into what that has to all do with Lemuria. So we'll get into that even more. Okay, so I found a few references to a couple of these geologists that had found a mineral called zircon on an island thought to be 2 million years ago in the Indian Ocean. And the problem with finding zircon on a 2 million year old island is that zircon is 3 billion years old. About the Lumerian people, what kind of people were they? Okay, first I really truly want to express that these people were very intuitive. They sought after highly advanced type energies. They were very skilled in telepathy and teleportation and vibration and levitation. And we're going to dive more deep into the levitation part with what I was shown by our special guest that will be coming to us soon. Okay, so the energy that they were using was very skilled. They trained themselves very harshly in these trainings. They were very hard on their children with these trainings. What you would normally consider abusive or child abusive wasn't their way of looking at it. They really disciplined and really trained their kids to be just like them, because they didn't want that knowledge to be forgotten or lost in translation through their children. So the teleportation, it was just like, the whole Star Wars thing. They didn't really have the machines that did it. They did it themselves through training and mindfulness. And they adapted quickly to the learning of change. And I'm going to go in deeper with a message that she had given me about change and humanity changing. So now, if you were to review the history of Lemuria and text it out and write it out, you may find that that race of beings were very highly connected to water and water animals, communicating with mermaids, and we're going to get to who the mermaids really were. They could draw energy from any kind of earth life source, and outside the plane of our realm as well. Plants around them, they used communication, knowledge through plants, through the land, the ground, soil, grass, these kind of things, and combined their imagination to make their arms like steel. So they use these objects in an advanced way to solidify matter in a way to make their arms like weightless, so they could lift heavy things. And we're again going to go into how they were able to do that with levitation. Earth was the goddess to them. She was everything. She was the one giving their supernatural powers to them. And they helped her flourish and grow by the way they were training themselves and using her. So it's kind of like, and Maria's kind of just chiming in right now, trying to explain it in a sense of Reiki. So if you lay your hands on somebody and you're healing somebody, then the life force kind of just goes around in a circle. So as you're healing someone, that energy's healing you. So this is how this was kind of done with Lemurians, with Mother Earth. Okay, the biggest thing I'm going to tell you about the Lumerian crystals is, if you see one and it jumps out at you, there's a reason why that is. And I wanted to say this at the end, but I'm going to Maria's kind of jumping me ahead. But when you see a Lumerian, it's because that there is something encoded in that crystal that's only meant for you to understand and know. So it's speaking directly to you because it's meant to be with you. The great awakening of mankind, is bringing forth this code deciphering vibration to the human race, because this race is meant to obtain the knowledge that the Lemurians originally possessed. Imagine a spark, and this is basically how Maria kind of showed me how this is working right now, but imagine a spark of encoded lightning, and sending out a burst of light energy to all the crystals on Earth simultaneously in order to wake up the energy to help assist the awakening of the human race. There was a deep encoding upon Earth that when a specific energy arrived or was ignited, that it set off a chain reaction to all crystals involved in this awakening, and in whatever race was here that ignited it, these crystals were to start becoming on Earth to help assist that race. Just happened to be mankind right now. Okay, many are becoming suddenly aware of these light codes. All of a sudden you start hearing all people kind of talking about light codes. What are these light codes? And sometimes they're calling them angelic codes, and they're not angelic codes. Light codes are strictly just for souls only, and how they're being deciphered. And this is kind of just setting off a chain reaction to the great shift awakening of Earth. So again, many are tapping into this great knowledge, and the Lumerian culture is thriving once again. And we are able to accomplish this huge learning aspect from this race that left it behind for us. So within the science aspect of it, and I was so grateful to be able to learn this, but within the science there's a kind of understanding about frequency, and what I was taught was there's this alignment programming called syntony, okay, which is an entrainment of vibrational frequency. The frequencies are in alignment, and to have a vibrational match within that frequency, which simply means anyone wanting to decode a frequency programmed into a crystal or any vibrational frequency would need to achieve this syntony, okay, in order to detect or even decode the frequency provided in a crystal. So the only way to detect and then later decode any frequency on anything on Earth, whether it's a vibrational frequency programmed into a crystal or any kind of healing frequency that you're doing right now, it is to be achieved through this syntony alignment of frequencies. It's an entrainment of vibrational frequency, and it has to match evenly. So I'm going to kind of show you. Okay, so this is the frequency, and then you have vibrations like octaves within the frequency, okay? So this is our little code right here. Can you guys see that? I know it's weird, but that's the best I can show you. So the crystal would need to allow you to slowly over time decipher it. So to better understand, okay, so down here, so if we say something has a low frequency or a high frequency, because this is our frequency here, so this is low, this is high, it's all the same frequency. This is all the same frequency right here, okay? So if you say there's more energy in a wave, that just means that there's a high amplitude. So if there's more energy in a wave, there's a high amplitude within that wave. Then there is energy in a low wave within the same frequency. So this is the same frequency, you just have high and low amplitude, high and low waves of energy. But when we get into those waves, they have to sync up for it to be this perfect match of I know it's messing up the name, but syntony, okay? So this has to be perfect in alignment, the vibration, but this is two vibrational frequencies that have the same resonant and match frequency with the different octaves. So they have to match up for you to. So basically what I'm going to just kind of say is it has to be balanced for you to understand and decipher. Any code breakers that know coding, like within a computer or a type of language. So let's use the Mayans, for example. Let's say we have a code breaker, somebody that deals with language, and they go into a deep cave and they find all this, like, you know, different writings on the wall and stuff. So they have to use their code breaking techniques or their talent for code breaking to break it. But again, they're going to sit there and tell you it's not going to happen overnight. This is going to take years. This could take days. This could take, we don't know. So again, when you decipher what your Lumerian crystal is trying to tell you, it's going to take time to figure out what it's saying. I have a note here from Maria. There's a couple notes from Maria, so I don't want to mess up her wordings, but she said this race was able to pass on and then become behind the scenes spiritual mentors for the generations to follow. How they did this was through crystals, specifically clear quartz Lumerian crystals, due to their high vibrational energy and retaining of data being collected here on Earth. So she chimed in and kind of just wanted to express that this was solidified in her history of those timelines and those lives. The holy people of Lemuria were very much in touch with the land and water. They were the ancient ancestors of the Native Americans. So if you wonder where the Native Americans came from, Lumerian is their bloodline, okay? They began to be aware that it was very important that the knowledge from Lemuria be preserved for about 2,700 years, like I mentioned before. They were preparing for this great catalyst event, and they began spreading their teachings about to all the other beings that were on Earth at this time, and they were hopefully trying to preserve their knowledge through these people. And they felt the more that they spread the knowledge, the better it was going to be retained. And they also, again, thought that the cells within the body would retain the energy and the knowledge, and then be passed through karmatically, okay? So they really honed in on trying to get that information passed on. So they also stored information into the crystals. So we're getting into that now. Those, and she mentions here, these crystals were taken deep within the earth to be stored and preserved. These ancient Lemurians also began to create detailed maps of the underground tunnels that existed between power points on the planet. They also took the time to prepare their plans. They knew that they would receive a sign telling them it was time to go underground or migrate to other areas before the flood came. So they prepared themselves for these several thousands of years to be sacred keepers and record keepers of Earth. They knew it was a very important time for that information to be held and be saved from the waters. So otherwise, the entire history and the sacred teachings would have just totally been wiped out as the water receded. So they didn't want their lives to be forever lost. Our special guest today is Vedaura. She's over by the box here. I got a bunch of boxes over here because we're remodeling the spa. Okay, she presented herself to me whilst preparing for this live. She has big dark brown curls in her hair that almost look like they're wet or like gelled or something, but there's obviously no gel in her hair, so they just look really wet. The clothing that she wore matched nature, so there was a lot of tans, auburns, maroons, deep greens, light blues, and like bits of white and cream, even browns. She did have this like large crystal piece that kind of just like a big piece of candy on her chest there. It was like kind of neat, and it was bright bluish green, and it hung from her neck, and it looked just like the deep ocean of green below. So the deeper you would go into the ocean, the more green it got. So it was like a mixture of like the bottom of the ocean mixed in with the blue of the water. So it was very cool. Okay, she explained to me that she was what we would modernly call a priestess of mystical energy. She was known to her people as a type of energy structurer or energy builder. It was like a competition, she said. We would use the energy, and this is her speaking, we would use the energy from the goddess earth to build momentum up and adapt the frequency to what we were to lift, say like a large trunk from the ground, but we would honor that trunk that had passed on and left us its ancient knowledge. From what I gathered from her saying this, that this trunk was already old and had passed on, so it was laying there, and they just used what was left of the life force of that trunk. They honored Earth too much to damage it, so it's almost like they waited for them to get old, and the older they were, the more knowledge was being possessed from the life source that was left over. Every morning, this is her words, she got real loud. She goes, every morning, because I was in the middle of typing and I'm like, oh, you're not done? Okay, go ahead. The water would call and sing to you. That's how she would talk. Yeah, it's very like, that is how you awake from dream world. I was trying not to laugh, but I was just like, there's like no emotion. Okay. The water beckoned for the soul to come back into being. We were connected to the mermaid realm, whom you refer to as the Atlanteans, the deep blue ones, as we called them. We shared like-minded information with one another and shared our harvest with their people as they would do with us. We never asked them how it was obtained, but thanked them for their generous offerings. We too would offer the food of our land to them in return. This would be considered your modern day import-export exchanges from country to country. So, then she continues. We lived among a tri-realm blend. I got a little confused, so she kind of explained that to me. 3 realms blending together in one area. Yes, we thrived a long time, longer lifespans due to the intake of energy and the type of nutrition being accumulated from the body. Less dense of a body meant less food intake. Yes, we had families and children. They didn't eat every day because the body didn't function that way. It doesn't function the way it does now. Less dense means less intake. And then she started kind of describing her area, because this was the time like Yvonne was asking her questions, because I kind of gave Yvonne a heads up of who was in the room and who was talking to me, and she was asking her all these questions. So this is kind of like her answering Yvonne, like, well, what did you eat? Did you have kids? Did you have families? I remember you asking her that. Okay, so I think right around this time Yvonne had asked her, like, well, what's around you, or where, what did your environment look like? And she said, very lush green, big mountains. The large ones were among us. And I was like, oh, big mountains. And no. She like corrected me. I'm like, okay, large ones. And she said the large beings would be the ones that had to walk around carefully. So she basically said there was like these giants there. These large beings would have been considered angels in modern time. But they were just simply the giants or tall ones to them. We worked harmonious together with them in order to aid each tribe's progress and survive from the land. Their people became ill, and it was only an illness that attacked their DNA bloodline. They began to leave Earth's realm one by one. The illness seemed to originate from a certain food that was being consumed by them, an unnatural food that was never to be consumed. They started to become unsettled and discomforted, even mean at times. From what I gathered, they started getting into foods that was like, it's like, let's say for example, you suddenly started going out in the garbage and just started eating stuff. It was like not normal. Right. They started doing things that weren't normal. We came into being after the dinosaurs ruled the lands, what you guys would call dinosaurs. But there were still some that stayed behind after the Great Migration off Earth. They became more aware of their own reality and what they were capable of accomplishing. You can think of this as a monkey becoming more aware of its own intelligence and expansion of the mind. A monkey becoming more upright and aware of language like a human. And then Yvonne asked, how did you come to Earth? She said, we were born here. We are the originals. We are the original humanoids, just as the Atlanteans were the first water people. They are able to transform their physical body in a way a shapeshifter takes a look from one aspect to another. The Atlantean culture is being misunderstood for another communal society. Some may think they were a negative people who obtained information and knowledge for their own selfish purposes, but this was far from the truth. We all knew a reboot was coming to Earth's surface, and when I mean reboot, I mean a starting over pattern. One that we knew for a while was to arrive in order for certain new energies to take place for Earth's ascendment. What most don't understand is that you cannot stay the same. This was her message to you guys today. Change comes in order to teach and to grow to new levels of learning. If you played with building blocks at an age 2, could you imagine still playing with those same building blocks at age 30? No, of course you wouldn't, because that would become boring and primitive after so long. Your mind grew as well as the physical parameters of your learning, so we migrated as well. We removed ourselves from the acceding changes that were to come. Where did you go after that? Yvonne asks. The Atlanteans had prepared their people for underground cavern survival and life. We could not do the same. We fled the islands, and Atlanteans knew of this shift. We could do the same, but some of us fled the islands, and Atlanteans knew of this shift taking place before we had. Due to the energy being viewed from down under the water was acting weird, she said, in so many words. They knew intuitively that the water was going to create a doom state effect to the area we were all dwelling in. So we fled and made our way to the outer surrounding continents. Some of us followed the Atlantean people to Europe and some parts of the Middle East, places of warmth and growth for good harvest. But most of the Lumerians dispersed themselves throughout Asia, and that's how she said it, Asia. And the islands of, I had to put a note there because I didn't want to say it wrong, and the islands of India, nearing the Pacific. We need to be near water due to our communication with its language, with our people. Our lives depend on the water's connection to our core for survival. That is why some of the modern day people can't live without water and being near water. Their soul is very aware of their life as a Lumerian and understand that the water is survival and energetically part of the soul's growth and understanding. Our people, as well as the Atlantean people centuries later, were energetically drawn to the American islands offshore. Most of us settled here due to its high energy and being able to use its energy for vibrating large objects and levitation, but not before we made our mark on other lands like your Easter Island, which display the faces of our people, so they were honored for their distinguished accomplishments within our own culture and obtained enlightenment knowledge through their trainings like those of your own race, which you would refer to as famous for things such as music, and she went like this, Bach, or philosophers like Plato. Our statues stand tall in honor of these dignitaries, much like your landmarks of your Lincoln statue stand in honor of someone who made change or difference in your culture. We also refer to your Mount Rushmore in comparison to your statues of honor. I believe that most of our popular creations mystify humans, and with good reason, for we were much advanced in these ways. Our energy vortex of healing, which you call Stonehenge, calls to all humans on Earth in some way or another, because it is to be utilized in aiding the soul to heal on a molecular level. The Atlanteans eventually spread to other lands, but their culture can be very well known in Egypt. They advanced their culture in areas of astrology and communicating with the great gods of the other realms in order to reestablish that busy line of communication and supply. This would be considered your marketplace of buying and selling from other areas. The Atlanteans sought after supply that Earth could not provide them. They used the building of the pyramids to obtain this connection to the other realms. This is like dialing a number on a telephone. You put in a calculation of sorts with numbers and alignments, and voila. And I couldn't believe she said voila. I was kind of like, oh, she knows that word. You have a connection, which is a beam of light. Each alignment frequency coded pattern had a light color to it to that specific area and space in order to call in that specific race. The Atlanteans were actually called the beloved Anunnaki. They were honored and respected by many other races. They showed their knowledge with many and vowed to bring outer life and resources to the people of Earth. They sought to advance the people here, but found that the people were very much too primitive to understand the knowledge, and it became very tainted. So the Anunnaki had a meeting, in so many words, and decided to wipe the minds of the humans. I said whip. Decided to wipe the minds of the humans in order to remove their existence from them. They felt they were not ready for such advancement and removed the memory of and left Earth's surface in search for other realms of their kind and their level of advancement. She also said that the tall ones had migrated to America as well, in a specific area of San Diego, which she called Death Valley. Now, when she explained the nature of her surroundings, I found that we were of the same nationality in a sense, but in a different frequency of body. Like, they looked very similar to us, but it was more of like a rough masculine look more than a feminine. The photons in our light bulb here are going to go in all directions. They're to do-do-do-do-do. Like, just think of, like, you guys see like flies or little gnats. Just imagine them being in this light bulb and they're just running around and flying around and bumping into one another. That is the photons in a light bulb. A light bulb. So it's going to fill up a room so that you can see better and you can read better while you're reading, okay? Now, the photons in a crystal like this is going to be more of a focused light beam. They're not going to be all over the place. It's going to be a stream of light beam. And this has an identical wavelength of protons streaming, okay? A matching wavelength in a way. Okay, this is what we want when we are working with the it is an amplifier which increases the coherence for it to resonate and have that syntony with us and allow us to decode or kind of grab its gemmy little secrets. So we have to do things to get it to activate, okay? So we're going to take a laser, and I have my laser here. That's a flashlight. So I have a blue laser and I have a red one. So I'm gonna do the red one because it's more laser beamed. Can you guys see my laser? You want to, and it doesn't matter where you do this, from what I was being shown. So you want to activate it. You can take it from the bottom, take it from the top, and just gently. And this basically wakes it up, and you're basically telling it, listen, I want to use you right now. I want to learn from you. And we're putting a beam of light through the wand, a photon stream beam of light. And you want to do this for about 3 minutes. So aids in theta brainwave activity, and this will allow you to go into a deeper sleep, a peaceful sleep, and then it gives your soul time to go into a deeper realm of learning or adventure. Maybe your soul wants to take a break and wants to go on a grand adventure. This will help your body to go into deeper sleep, and when your body's in a deeper sleep, your soul is able to go further and down the rabbit hole, as I like to call it, in its adventures while it's away from the body. I'm going to show you how to identify your Lumerian, because a lot of people say they look just like clear quartz. They don't, okay? And I'm going to show you why, because I would think this was a clear quartz, but it's not, and I'm going to show you why, okay? All right. So you've got these striations on here, these ladder markings. You can see it right there, real good right there. Okay, it's like a barcode. And you can take your finger up and down. So don't just look at these striations. I want you to actually feel them. Rub your finger up and down, okay, on these crystals. This is releasing the energy, the data. By you doing this, this is releasing the energy and the data being stored. So you're warming it up and it's being released. I know this is kind of gross, but this is what Maria kind of showed me. You know the glands of a dog on their butt? Mm-hmm. If you rub them too much, they're going to go... Yeah. Same thing. It's basically the same thing. All right. So it's okay. Let's properly just identify these first. So no worries. Okay. The facet, or I'm sorry, the apex is at the top. Most of you should already know this. The apex is at the top, and then you have the facets, which is these little triangle pieces up on top. Okay. The facets are what meet at the apex, and the closer they get up to the top. Now some might not make it. It might be like here, one didn't make it all the way. Okay. So most of them will meet at the top, but some might not make it the whole way up. It should not be polished or cut. And in most clear quartz, there's 6 facets, which I don't have an example of right now. And some might have 5 because it won't meet to the top like that, okay? But on a Lemurian, you only get 3. It's mostly Lemurians that have these characteristics. It's called a museo crystal habit. And I want to demonstrate that at the apex for you. So basically when you go like this, it should look like a triangle. Now I know you probably can't tell, but it should look like a triangle, like you're looking at a triangle, okay? I'm gonna try to do that. Maybe you guys can see it if I do that, okay? I wonder if this one has a better. See, you're looking at a triangle. So let's kind of review what to look for. You've got the ragged or ladder striations. Okay, that's what you look for. The triangle angled prisms on top. And it should be 6, and it should look like an obelisk wand shape. Or I'm sorry, it should look like a triangle, not 6, because the 6 at the bottom, if you look at the 6, at the bottom there's 6. The triangle's at the top. A clear interior, but you should see a frosting outside. It most likely will be frosted. You might have some clear parts, like right there, it's real clear. And then it gets real frosty again. The striations are on this one, but it's not as deep as the other one, but there is striations on this one. And it has the frosted look. You've got the triangle 3 on top. And the striations are there. Okay? That's how you know it's a Lumerian and not a clear quartz. Okay? The ladder-like striations on the stone act like a stairway to heaven, in a sense. So it's taking you to a higher self, a higher realm, and reaches towards a higher frequency for you. Okay, these crystals are a powerful meditation tool to use when you're trying to feel at home. Because let's say, for example, you're feeling very lonely, maybe you're feeling very isolated, and you just want to be connected to home. This crystal kind of makes you feel like you're at home with a tribe, and that goes back to me explaining how the Lumerian connects you to your tribe. In divination, wands are used in specific efforts where great precision is needed, because it has that laser beam energy and you're pointing right at the part that you need to be healing. And remember, the life force is you, so as you're healing with the crystal and it has its own life force, it's just this roundabout light beam coming from Mother Earth, coming from other realms, coming into you through your feet as you root into that energy, and then through your hand as it's healing, through your crystal that already has a life force of its own and also has the entrainment vibration of the photon beam light. They're excellent in aiding spiritual development work, like those of you who may be working on your shadow. Lemurians are great at helping you face your inner demons and help you to be more like yourself. I mean, who more to take after than the Lumerians, because they were definitely being themselves, and they definitely tapped into all their abilities and didn't really care what other societies at that time maybe thought of them, but most of the societies here were already like them, advanced. So it was all harmonized in that sense. But nowadays you have a lot of people that judge you, and this crystal is going to kind of teach you how to ignore that, because the only person learning from your path is you, and you have nothing to prove to anybody else except yourself, because in the end you're the one that's going to have to repeat the life, not them. So you might as well just be yourself while you're doing it. Okay, now Maria chimed in and said, we are entering a timeline now of profound alignment with the fifth dimensional Christ consciousness diamond light grid blueprint that is currently interfacing with this world and its current dimensional reality. Please understand and know that the more individuals who individually experience that which is known as the inner event or the inner shift, the faster the collective consciousness aligns with the huge collective wave within the cosmos and the cosmo light particles, or that which is known as the outward event through the galactic realm. Please know that the event is an inner and outer phenomenon, and it is this which marks it a grand event. Mother Earth, Gaia, stands now with the attention of the entire galaxy and universe. She is now blended with them all and beyond, who have come forward to bear witness to this spectacular metamorphosis that she is going through herself. And she quoted this, as above, so below, as within, so without. So much ancient knowledge and memory are coming back into this timeline. As many of you are awakening and remembering, particularly those of you who are vibrationally drawn to these crystals, you in fact have incarnations at the time of the Lumerian lives. And so therefore you are fully aligned with the remembrance of this soul call mission. Many have begun and have began to receive transmissions from the ancient Lemurians and their Lumerian crystal data wands. Lemurian crystals contain and transmit messages of equality and unconditional love from ancient advanced civilizations. Their energy grid links from the earth to the stars and other dimensions. They are excellent for chakra clearing and balancing and cleaning your aura, as well as working with your soul through dream. If you go to sleep holding one, you will ascend to the other realms and gain great knowledge. A quartz is something that you program. A Lumerian is something you activate. So there's a big difference. She wanted to stress that. There's a huge difference between the two. As you meditate, rub your finger along the barcodes on the side of the Lumerian to activate and download Lumerian knowledge and connect to the Lumerian energy grid. I hope you enjoyed this teaching, and I hope you have fun while doing this. Please keep a journal of your Lumerian journey so you can now place that history back into the human history timeline for all to review. And that's it, guys. That's it. There's all your information.